Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. I am your host and co-host, Peter Boulden. And I have Craig in his office with a sweet Bulletproof Practice sign behind him. Thanks to our Director of Operations, Nick. Nick got that made for you, right, Craig?
Yeah, I saw he had a sign in his office. I'm like, bro, can you hook me up? I tasked him. You thought
did.
that was funny that I tasked him. I'm like, dude, can you hook me up?
You are great at tasking folks. You're great.
Thank you.
You're a great visionary finger pointer. Do this.
Thank you.
Do this. You get jealous because I have a rhinoceros behind me, don't you?
Well, yeah, you're at home. I mean, it's easier to have a rhinoceros at your house than a rhinoceros at your
All right,
office.
so I have something to say. I have an apology, a public apology to you.
Public apology?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Surprised that I know how to apologize or that it's public?
Actually, both.
I'm not the best apologizer. Ask my wife.
No, I think this might be the first apology. Okay. No, it's not.
This is the second one. The second one was on stage when I stole ADS bucks.
Oh no, then you had 3 apologies because remember you pissed all over that vision topic I had with the video that I did at the summit.
And that was like the best part of Summit 2020. And I was like, this is horrible as we're prepping. All right, so Craig, look,
You actually said something really nice when we got off stage. I'm going to out you on that too. You said, man, you're like a freaking beautiful human being. That was so awesome that you said that to me, man.
Really?
That was one of the nicest things that anybody's ever said to me. So
because it was true, it was genuine.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And
just for the background, I did this. I was I had like a little video I was going to play and talk about like what's a leader, what's a vision, and I had it in my head. And Peter and I are different when we're on stage, and like I just got to get in my heart about what I want to say. And Pete likes to have a very like clear set of points that he wants to communicate. And I just didn't have exactly what I want to say, but I knew the intent and I just riffed it. And it came out really good, thank God, because had it not, that would have been.
Well, it's interesting. The more I get to know, the more of our friendship evolves, the more I realize like how different we are. And that actually is the gravitational pull. Because I actually said that on a call today with a guy who was talking about our businesses, and he's spoken to you too. And I said, look, we are so different, but we are so complementary because it's just like literally our skill sets are completely different. Anyway, my apology is such. I wanted to go with a different format for the podcast, right? I was trying to go with the Barstool Sports quick thing of like, 10 minutes, everyone knows the rules. I was trying to be kitschy. I've learned that word recently. It means being too cute. I was trying to be too cute.
Oh, okay, cute. And
keep it under 10 minutes. And I will say so that did not go over well with our community. We got a couple emails saying that this new format sucks because it was going to be a new format.
I saw that. We got a Google review.
A review from Sco is his name. SCO_SCO_SCO. So Sco, if you're listening to this, heard you loud and clear. It was a gut punch. And can you please go back and fix that 1-star review? I don't think that was fair. I heard you loud and clear, but Craig, read it out loud.
I don't have it.
It was like basically keep your shit your tent. This is worthless. Keep your shit for Instagram and whatever at 10 minutes. Like it's pointless. Like it was like literally a gut punch harsh. So I hear.
Well, we did ask for feedback. I was figuring. It's like
rushing.
Exactly. Well, it's just like asking your patient, like, "Hey, do you have any feedback for me?" Oh, not really. If you ever do, just let me know. And then they put it on. They put it. World's worst on Yelp. Well, you didn't give me that. You used to have hot towels. Your cleanings. You took that away. Well, couldn't you just tell me I get you a hot towel? We still have it.
And I want to let Sco know. Like, I will be sure to refund your money for that podcast. Oh wait.
Come on, Pete.
I'm kidding.
It's all good. It is all good.
Kidding. Good. I'm just kidding. Joke.
I know,
all right. So that's my public apology. You were right. Your gut said, Pete, I don't like this format. And I said, dude, trust me. Trust me. And I was wrong. So anyway, let's get into our topic today, because I think what resonated with me about the 10 minutes is that me. I like to get to it. I like to get to the meat of it. I like to be pithy. I tell my team, I was like, just talk to me in bullet points. I don't have time for all this fluff in email. Just hit me with bullet points. So we are coming out, Craig. We're post-COVID. We are back. We are rolling. We are feeling good. Let's talk about fun shit. And please do not talk about freaking COVID anymore. I'm not saying you will. I'm saying I'm so effing tired of this theme. So we are not even going to address it today, but we're going to talk about fun shit and cool shit and legendary shit. And the biggest legend we all know is Sports.
MJ.
MJ. So what is going on? I was recently jumped into The Last Dance, and Craig said he really wanted to talk about this today, which I said, okay, well, what's it going to be like? How's this going to help people in their day to day, right? Is this timely? Meaning dentists are turning the lights back on in their operations and stuff like that. And he said, yes, it is, because like this is a chapter in your Last Dance, right? So Last Dance is a 10 series thing on ESPN. If you guys don't know, it's about Michael Jordan and his bumps and bruises, as well as his highlights, and just, he is a GOAT. He is the greatest of all time without fail. I've only gotten through 3, but I can remember just thinking all night long about the poster that was on my wall of him in the air holding it like this and literally jumping from the free throw line, right? And like doing anything I could do to save up to get the Michael Jordan sneakers for basketball, right? The MJ, the new kicks.
Yeah, the Air Jordans. Yeah,
it brought me back. I had forgotten how infatuated I was with him, right? And
well, he shaped American culture. He literally, there was a shift in global culture because this man existed. And I think it's just an interesting thing when you look at it, and here we are, and I'm on Facebook probably more than I should be, so I'm always kind of reporting back to Pete, like, hey Pete, this is going on. It's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? That can't be going on. I'm like, no, it's going on. Like, I'm showing him the screenshots of videos and posts and things that are people like kind of breaking down. And
well, you're talking about in the context of dentistry, and there's like,
in dentistry. So
these wars going on internally of podcast people. I'm looking, it's hilarious.
Well, not even just that. It's more about like
hygienist versus dentist, like on Facebook.
It's a very divisive, dark time for people, and they're making it that way. They're actually contracting versus expanding through this process. And granted, we all had a reset, and we're not talking about the actual virus and all that stuff and PPE and the war about how much PPE you can pack on your body and stuff like that. I'm just talking about what do human beings do when they face adversity. And it's really easy as human beings to give massive amounts of or devalue the people that are shining through challenge. So there's these dentists that are expanding and doing great through this challenge. Great when I say is doing as best as they can and kind of pushing forward. And you have two choices. You can say, wow, of course he's doing great. He practices in Chicago or whatever, or he practices in Miami. It's going to be really easy there. And looking at the Michael Jordan docuseries, for me, I always knew what a massive, just what an amazing human being, an epic human being. Like, I heard Kevin Hart refer to him as an alien. Mm-hmm. He's just not of this world. He's so special, so gifted in so many different ways. But then pulling back the wool and seeing, behind the whole thing and seeing how hard he had to work. And imagine like telling your teammates, Scottie Pippen and people who are GOATs in their own right to like, do your fucking job, man. Like, step up. We're here to win. Like we talk about like, how do we manage our team? There's a hierarchy. You're the dentist. You may work with another dentist or 2 or 3 or whatever, but by and large, you work with people. You are the chosen leader.
And it's funny, he was the talent and the coach, meaning, right? And that's very similar to dentists, meaning that most of the income is predicated on how talent, the dentist is the talent in the office. Let's talk to single practitioner practice, right? But also has to be the coach and the quarterback in a lot of scenarios as well. I know I just conflated two.
No, but it's true.
Sports,
it's true because
we're the Phil Jackson and the Michael Jordans is what I'm trying to say.
Right. So he didn't get, and I'm stepping into dangerous territory here, Pete, because I'm sports illiterate, and to get me to watch through that docuseries, I didn't watch it all yet, but I'm just loving it because it's fascinating to me, even not as a sports fan, to think of. He did not care about getting, best player, MVP, although he did get the MVP so many times. His whole goal, his DNA was made to win. So his goal, his values and alignment was just to win. And that's where he had to get all over all the other players. And these guys are in the fucking NBA. It's not like they're like, pickup players. So imagine the sweaty back conversations he had to have with like these really high level players. Like, man, what is up with you? You're in your head. Come on, let's get this back. Come on. And his teammates were scared of him. They feared him.
Well,
they said that.
they gave him, he had the chops because everyone recognized he was just playing at a different level, right? And so he was able to come in, and honestly, he came in hard because of love, meaning that he painted the mission. It wasn't like, hey, do as good as me. It was, hey, let's win this shit. And everyone adopted his vision, and they didn't get butthurt, Craig. They did not get butthurt by him yelling at them because they knew that it came from a place of betterment of the team and the organization.
His whole goal was to win. I want to win. We got to win. We're here to win. So
here's how you talked me into talking about this, because I don't like fluffy stuff on pod. I like tactical, blah blah blah, and meaning this being the podcast. And you said something that's like, look, what is your, as dentists, as we're looking back, and some dentists have opted. A lot of dentists, at retirement age, have opted to kind of close after this.
A lot of dentists, unfortunately, Pete, not at retirement age, have opted to close.
Well, like, okay, but so what do you want? If we look at our own lives, right, and we're taking the basketball analogy, and like we all have a story. Yes, granted, it might not be on ESPN, but what is this chapter going to look like in your last dance? What is, as you reflect back, are you going to be happy, proud, sad of this? And if it's any of those, like, great. But like, we all have another chapter. So I think it's cool to kind of, I don't know. Look, taking something as powerful as The Last Dance and then extrapolating it into our own lives of like things. But I was able to kind of put in some pieces of like, yeah, I was cut from this, I was rejected from this dental school, and I was, and boy, I didn't enroll.
$500,000 in embezzlement.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just all these gut punches that you say like, yeah, that would have been my analog in my Last Dance story, but it brought me here. Right. Yeah. And not that here is the pinnacle of the mountain. I'm still climbing the damn mountain.
But the point that people break off is they say, why is this shit happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And the minute you start becoming
a victim
to the process, oh my God,
you've lost.
I put up a brand new building. My building was meant to open on March 20th, and then fucking COVID happens. I can't believe why. Like, of all the times I was going to do this, and the minute you start going in there, you start making it about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start making things about yourself, you cut off everyone else around you because you're too worried about yourself, and you literally cut yourself off from the energy source of that you're supposed to take care of people. And that's what Jordan was doing. That's what The Last Dance is about. And in many ways, that's what you and I do, because we're here to make something much bigger than ourselves. So if you've got 30 people that work with you, or 20 people that work with you, or 10 people that work with you, look at how many people depend on that salary. So you got to make a mission that's bigger than just you and your dental practice. If you're actually there to serve the people that work with you and to serve the people that you support, it becomes so much bigger, and there's just no room for that self-dialogue anymore. So I look at dentistry, Craig,
honestly,
right now.
That's a, I want
to, and let me just hold that. Just put a pin in that, because I don't want to lose what you're saying.
Don't forget.
Yeah, write it down, because what I'm thinking is that there's a big conversation now, hygienists versus doctors, and this whole thing. It's not, and people are really mad. There's a lot of dialogue. I mean, maybe I'm getting a vocal minority, but there's a lot of dialogue about the freaking hygienist and this and that, and it's just like, it's super divisive. And then on top of it, we've got, what happened to that poor man in Minneapolis. And there's so much division that's happening now where, I saw there needs to be a stronger voice for the entirety. Someone that's going to step up and say, this is our ship. This is our house. Let's protect it. Like you always say, like protect.
Yeah. Who will build, who will protect this house, right? The old Under Armour commercial.
Sorry, I don't know why I felt that was important, but I thought that it was just important to just point to the idea that when you make it about yourself, you fail on all levels of leadership.
Right? It's unsustainable. So this is what I was going to say. Is that something we were on a call yesterday with some gentlemen who are consultants and in a space of kind of they're not dentists, outside looking in, and the new term coming out is pandemic proof, which I kind of chuckled because I was like, that's kind of a play on Bulletproof, right? We've kind of right, but the new term in dentistry is like, is the practice pandemic? It used to be recession resistant, but now is it pandemic proof? And that kind of, I was like, whoa, we're here at this new term called pandemic proof. And I think, right, Craig, that's another quiver in your bow, or quiver in your, what's a quiver called when you, an arrow in your quiver. Sorry.
An arrow in your quiver.
Yeah. That helps you, that vision that you're just talking about, that Last Dance kind of story, right? And the team and something, a mission bigger than you, and being able to have hard conversations. Like, these are all things that give you muscles to become pandemic proof or bulletproof. right?
Yeah.
And it is important. And, you know, and I like this, you know, and I don't love the woo woo stuff, but when I look at it, like I can literally envision like a book on my coffee table, Greg, like, and I know there will never be this book, but I'm looking at like the chapters in my career. Right. And like, were these good memories or bad memories or hurtful or painful? And like, am I proud of it when I'm sitting and I'm 80 and I'm rocking in a chair, or I'm 80 and kiteboarding, whatever, you know, pick which one you want to be. And like, I can see this, I can tangibly see the writings of this.
Right. But I think one of the issues though, Pete, is that people just have this idea that they're not meant to have problems, that there's not meant to be challenges. And I get so many, we're uncovering a lot like through the mastermind process we
But
have.
we've talked about this. We've talked about this so much, like, right? Like, and you've told me so many times, like, happiness is not the absence of problems,
Yeah.
right? Happiness comes from like the pushing through the problems and getting to the other side and finding solutions. And yes,
And I think
and
people
getting better quality problems. And
right.
yeah,
I think people can understand that conceptually, but then along comes the pandemic. And it's brand new. Everybody's just like, oh my God, they can't even see straight through this thing. And
that narrative is changing, right? It was like we consult in our mastermind, and look, it was dark times for a while, and we felt it, and we were, you know, even we felt it, and we got down. You and I went back and forth, even, you know, putting on a happy face, but like we were watching the evolution, and now the lights are turning back on, and the world is changing again. It was so dark 2 months ago, and it's bright. It's getting brighter, right?
Yeah.
And my fear is in 2 months from now, this is going to become like the swine flu, or no one freaking remembers it.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe not 2 months, but like a year from now.
God willing.
I hope. And maybe this is my own self-fulfilling prophecy, but I'm so freaking tired of these talking about this stuff.
Oh, I know. I just think that, you know, there might be the news agencies and the media learned a very valuable lesson. You know, their job is to get eyeballs on screens.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, no one was watching. Yeah, no one was watching the news, and media consumption in general is going through the roof. So murder hornets and aggressive rats and all the other stuff.
I saw the funniest thing. I have to interject the funniest story. So there was a news reporter in Florida coming down, right? And he's got his mask on. He's like, I can't believe all these people are not wearing masks. Did you see this on Twitter?
Yeah. And then as soon as the camera stopped, he took it off.
Nope.
Oh.
So this guy's like, he's in a black mask and he's reporting. He's like, yep, everyone. And the lady in the studio is saying, what, do they just not care about their safety or anything? And blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, yeah, I guess not. I guess everyone just wants to kill everybody, kind of thing. And so this guy walks up with a cell phone and he goes, no one's wearing, and the reporter says something like, yep, no, look, even this guy's not wearing a mask. He goes, yeah, I'm recording this. Your cameraman is not wearing a mask.
Oh,
and the guy just like literally was like, okay, cut. And you saw the camera guy on that guy's feed, and it was just hilarious. And it just went right into the narrative of like, just what you said, Greg.
I know, but these people control our emotional state. I mean, if you consume the stuff enough, it's crazy. It's really scary. And listen, we're not trying to say that this is not travesty.
No, it's serious.
And it's serious,
but it shouldn't be some. Yes, of course.
But you know, like I always tell people too, imagine if the first car came out, like a guy like Elon Musk comes around, and we never had cars before. He's like, hey, I got this really cool invention. It's got 4 wheels or rubber. Put gas in it, you charge it up, and it drives. Then we'd send it through our consumer affairs federal agencies and say, is it safe? And we'd say, oh shit, 3,800 people per day will die in this thing if everyone had one. The government would say, absolutely not. There's no fucking way you can have a car.
Right.
We could not have cars.
Stay with horses.
Stay with horses because you can't go that fast. And so it's this new normal that, you know, death is now considered cruel and unusual. The fact that and I just think that there needs to be a voice to say, whether it's your team level, your community level, it's time to go forward and not contract through this.
Yeah, I want to say something because I'm afraid I'm gonna get hate mail that I'm not being. It is a real thing, obviously, right? People's safety is a real concern. I don't want to say that we're being just belligerent about this because it is a real thing, and we as a practice are taking the right precautions, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just saying I won't miss it when it's gone. Is really my thesis, right?
I know
that's
exactly.
all. And so I'm creating this verbiage and narrative to get it out of my head as fast as possible because it became toxic in my own brain.
Well, then how can you help anybody if you're consumed with it? It's like the plane's going and you have to put the oxygen mask on your face first. You know, like how can you serve and help anybody?
Because
if
I
you're
went down my own rabbit holes of like, I didn't really have, I was down at, you know, like what can you do? I was consuming so much data because I was so concerned about my team and my practice and my family and this, right. And right. And it was like, I was finding more and more, if it was bleeding, it was reading, I was reading it. And like the scarier the shit, the more I was reading. And then I was like, wait a second, this is like the opposite of what I should be doing. And you almost have to like audit where you are. Like, this is not good. The junk food diet that I'm feeding my brain is not performing well for me. Like shockaroo.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, listen, we have 7.5 billion people on this planet right now, more than we've ever had before. And we've also have the most efficient technology to disseminate information that we've ever had. So, you know, in the scheme of the human condition, I know there's a lot of travesties that are currently going on right now. There's one in particular, the guy in Minneapolis, that's just crushing. I couldn't sleep the whole night thinking about it. Was cold-blooded murder. A cop murdered a guy, and it was legit murder. No matter what happened before, you know, it was a slow, deliberate, and really unfortunate event. The point I'm trying to make is that humans we're a tricky species, and we do some fucked up stuff constantly. But now, if some guy in Bangladesh like kills his family and throws his dog off the roof, you're going to hear about it, and you're going to have this tendency to say, God, human beings are super screwed up.
Right.
Like that podcast I sent you. And it's just not true.
The
it's
amplification.
Just that
it's always been going
data,
on.
So much data. You know, when I can speak to my wife. My wife's very nervous about our children going out down the street and playing and stuff like that. And I was talking to a bunch of other mothers and families like, yeah, I really don't let my kids ride their bikes like out of the block and around and everything like that. And I'm like, so I Googled and I started researching, you know, that like when we were kids, Pete, childhood fatalities were like an exponentially higher than they are now. Or abductions, you know, the back of the milk cartons that we used to see all the time, abductions were super, super high per capita compared to they are now. So we all feel less safe in general. I'm not even talking about COVID and pandemic. We're just feeling less safe. You know, it's working. Media wants us to feel less safe. There's certain political agendas that want us to feel less safe. And that we're helpless and hopeless, and that don't worry, here's a solution tied with bleach or government. You're going to be a candidate. So
I'm going to reel this back into The Last Dance, right? And dentistry Last Dance, right? And so like now is the time to get out of like, do not listen to the noise around you, right? Your practice is depending. Get right. Start feeding your brain a healthy diet of, you know, maybe that's learning a marketing thing. Maybe that's creating a video. Maybe like we're talking with our masterminders about, like, take this as an opportunity, take this as action, take this as an audit of your practice. Don't become the victim, because if you do, I agree, you're kind of doomed. And sometimes it feels good to be like, oh, it's happening. We're all in this together, right? It's happening to everybody. Sometimes that does feel
all
good.
All this together. It doesn't. It's powerless.
I understand that, but it does feel good for other people to say and hear, because it looks like, but at the end of the day, like, you can only, you know, it's you at the helm. And so my point is like, I could have used all that. I should have and could have used all that time that I was consuming scary stuff and data that I thought was necessary for me as a leader. I could have been using it to do other stuff and physically check in on people and talk with people, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could have used that energy, and you only have so much. I could use that energy in different capacities.
It's not even time. Like if you go dark and you go down a rabbit hole and you start feeling, you know, scared,
it's reactive versus proactive.
You get less resourceful. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like if someone pulls a gun on you and says, you know, dial this number on your phone, you won't be able to freaking work the keyboard on your phone. You know, so the stress makes you less resourceful.
Yeah,
so
reactive versus proactive, and then scarce versus abundant. And those are the two things. I got reactive, right, and just waited for life to happen. Oh shit, what's the next wave going to come, right? And I got very scarce with, whoa, what ifs, right? What if this and what ifs? And so anyway, going back to The Last Dance. So again, I said I didn't want to talk about this, and here we are once again talking about it. But like, what are the skill sets that we want to put in our last dance, right? Did you, and let's say you're on chapter 3, if you're a younger dentist or medium dentist, right? Like, what do you want the next chapters to look like in your ESPN highlight reel?
Yeah.
What is
I
it? What
think
is it?
even starting, Jordan, I'm a big fan of vision always. Jordan just knew he was going to be a champion. I mean, he even at one point he taunted another player from another team and says, "Don't ever, disrespect Black Jesus" or something like that. He dunked. I don't remember the exact timing, but he called himself Black Jesus. Holy smokes! What confidence, and what confidence! Not in a, he
I
had
thought that was
confidence.
Kanye.
Black Jesus.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Kanye's got
That's
some,
making a
yeah.
joke.
Oh my God, I get the funniest Kanye story. So
Wait, finish your thought. So
so
then come
anyway,
back.
so he's like, yeah, so like, don't disrespect, like you shouldn't do that. Jordan would invent challenges to get him fired up. So he would actually say, like, this person disrespected me. Can't believe he did that. So he actually created challenges in his life to bring out the best in him. Tyson said something very similar recently too. Tyson said he's not, how Tyson's making a comeback? Tyson said that he doesn't like to train too hard, because if he starts training and hitting the heavy bag and all that, it fires up his ego and he can't stop. So it's like he doesn't want to like turn into the Hulk.
So yeah, he can't. He bites ears and stuff. Bites ears off.
Well, that was out of frustration, but
Well, no, I think he got.
Tyson's just.
That's unbelievable. I watch his videos, and he is another goat and freakish, like whatever.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But so there was one thing going back to the visioneering of Jordan, right? And I think this goes into the vision practices that you push on, in the summits and all that stuff, and on the podcast, is that like he envisioned, like in one of those games where I think it was the championship game. I think it was game 7. Anyway, one of the championships. I don't have it right now, but I just remember the quote. I remember him thinking, like, I envisioned the basket being 6 feet wide. I couldn't miss. I just envisioned myself going through it. And he's like, I cannot fail. And he was telling himself that. It wasn't the victim. They were behind, whatever. And he was just on fire, like was not missing. I need to get what game series this was. And I remember him saying the quote, and it stuck with me my entire life. I just envisioned the basket it was 6 inches. I couldn't miss. I just couldn't miss. I couldn't miss.
And it's so funny because I talked to so many people. And what's that line, like, where I can't remember, it's from a movie. It's like, you're so money, you don't even know it. Like there was some guy, it's like he was trying to pep up one of his teammates or something. It's like, you're so money, you don't even know it. Like, meaning, like, I talk to these dentists and people, and they're just like, I just wish I had this. I'm like, you have such talent. You prep teeth better than I've ever seen anyone prep teeth. You're a good guy. You build rapport. You actually have so much going for you. You should be so much more successful. But if you don't see it for yourself, no one can help you. You can hire the best coaches, the best masterminds. If you don't see it, like, just like Michael Jordan couldn't have ever helped himself from being successful, there's certain people that can't help themselves from being unsuccessful because of their mental hygiene. The things they say about themselves. I mean, if you have a thought pattern or process in your head where you're constantly putting yourself down, think about what you say. Like, if you were to ever say to me, you're my friend and I'm your friend, so we do that, we check each other. But if you ever said to me, man, I fucking suck at this, I would jump all over you. Like, Pete, would you ever say that to your friend? Would you ever say that to me? Craig, you fucking suck at this. Those are fighting words. That's the end of the relationship. So why do you say that shit to yourself? How can you talk to yourself in your own, just mental daily dialogue of how shitty you are? And dentists are just creating so much of that. So look at how Jordan said he envisioned the basket being 6 feet wide. Many dentists are shooting free throws at a 6 foot wide basket. And they say, it's 1 millimeter wide, insurance and COVID and blah, blah, blah. And it's not 1 millimeter wide. You're shooting freaking baskets into a 6 foot wide. It's real. You can actually be really successful. And the way that their dialogue is, and it's unfortunately positivity and negativity are contagious, there's a massive amount of people going the wrong way.
This was called the shrug game. It was game 1 in the 92 finals against the Trailblazers. And that's when he was going on the court shrugging, because like he literally Jordan was not the best 3-point shooter, and he was hitting him like free throws, right? And he just did the shrug, and it's known as the shrug. Like, he would walk down, look at the sidelines, and shrug, like, I don't know what's going on. But he said after in the locker room, like, the basket just seems so big.
Yeah,
it seems so big. Anyway, that's
so
just cool. That
and
really.
by the
cool.
way, the Kanye story was so Dave Chappelle was talking about Kanye, right? And it was the first time that. So Dave Chappelle said, he was hanging out with Kanye. Kanye hadn't released his first record yet, and they were all like in a studio, like all hanging out with Kanye and Dave Chappelle and who knows, maybe Chris Rock or some other super famous African American celebrity. And Kanye gets a call. He was just a kid. He didn't have any fame yet. And he gets a call. He answers the call, and Dave Chappelle's talking. He's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, no, I'm hanging out with Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and blah, 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 blah. He's like, yeah, I know. Oh, because my life is dope and I do dope shit. And he hangs up the phone. So the guy on the other line is like, wait, you're hanging out with who? Yeah. And then he literally says, because my life is dope and I do dope shit, clicks. And he's a kid. So some of us will hang out in rooms with people and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. I don't deserve this. And Kanye's and MJ's and all the greats. I was like, you know why? Because this is my destiny. I'm meant to be this. And I could think of several dentists that come to the top of my head that actually feel that way.
But you have to believe, okay. And those dentists that do actually feel that way, what's their life look like?
It's dope. It's dope.
Dope shit.
Dope shit. Yeah. My life is dope and I do dope shit. That's what they do.
I fucking love this.
So dude, my buddy Randy, who I don't know if you've ever met before, he's just a really dear friend of mine. He's got a YouTube channel called Happy Together. He bought a boat. He gets sales around the world. And I told him about this because I call him sometimes. Like, oh, I got to call you back. I'm in the BVI. So I'm like, Randy, you gotta see this quote. So I sent him the Dave Chappelle thing. So he's like a 60-year-old man, and now he answered. He's like 58. He's like, yeah, Craig, because my life is dope and I do dope shit. He hangs up on me all the time. I love it. But it's important to get that.
But he believes it, right? The dentists that you know believe it in their core. Like, and it's not an arrogant thing, it's a confident thing. It's almost like on the call yesterday, these guys were asking me, and they said, look, are you worried? What's keeping you up?
No, what's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, well, I'm not. I was like, what's keeping me up? I'm not worried because like I know that I can out hustle, I can outwork, I can out strategize, I can do something if I have to do it, right?
Yeah, I like what you said. Pete said, like, listen, I don't, it's like me and a guy are in the woods and there's a bear. That's
no, the story. He said, well, I said, look, the story of the bear, and he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, look, I don't have to. There's two guys walking in the woods, and this is how I look at dental practices right around me. Two guys walking in the woods, and they're both hiking, and they hear "Rawr" in the woods, and the guy said, oh shit. And one sits down, pulls out his backpack, puts on his running shoes, and his friend looks at him and said, dude, you can't outrun a bear. He says, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I said that's kind of the mentality that I go, is like, I don't have to be God's gift, the greatest practice in the world, I just have to be better than most.
Yeah. We're all wounded wildebeest now, like drinking out of the crocodile infested waters. We just have to be less wounded than everybody else. But,
that's true.
But I do think that it starts with your mental hygiene. And I think that now being positive, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of hate that comes from this podcast, in that being positive is considered, the social justice warriors are like, how could you be positive? How could you open? Well, you should be home. Like, we consult with dentists in certain parts of the country. I'm like, you should be home right now. You're part of the problem, and blah, 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 blah. And at a certain point, like, life actually is really hard. It all ends the same way. And if you really want to take this cause to heart and mitigate all risk, you really should never drive a car again as well. And I'm not saying this isn't scary, but there's a lot of chatter to stay negative and stay small. And my advice to everyone is be smart, but don't contract, expand on that one.
I agree. And as hard as it is, right? Like, push it, if you're scared, feel the pain, feel the scared, and do it anyway, kind of thing, right?
And to the guy's question yesterday, what keeps you up at night? It's almost disrespectful. You probably thought about what do I have to tell him? Actually, nothing keeps me up at night, but should I really tell him that? Like, because I don't want him to seem like and listen, Pete and I we're challenged and we're scared, and there's all the normal emotions, but you have fear. That courage needs fear.
I've had plenty of nights of staying up at night of shit that bothers me, Craig. Right. I've had enough repetitions of stuff that, like, even in my darkest hour, right now I look back, I'm like, whoa, those were beautiful blessings, right? Those darkest things that kept me up at night and that kept me in weird places of doing weird, and so that's what doesn't keep me up, because I pray about the stuff I can't control, and work on the shit I can control, period.
Right.
I sleep well. But I have also one thing, if we're talking about The Last Dance, all right, I have this new thing, and it's a Gary Vee thing, and it's a big, you haven't seen it because it's in my work office, and and Emily put acrylic all over it. It's a canvas, and it just has a big picture of a ticket, and it says one life, right? Right. And it reminds you that like we get one ticket. Like, what's your last dance look like? What's your story? What's your ESPN? What does the highlight reel look like? Because you're the author of that narrative, right? You don't be 80 and regret what you didn't do, and then only realize that you don't have the time to fix it. And that's the thing that keeps me up at night, is really literally knowing I have resentment in my life or regret in my life of not doing something or accomplishing something or whatever it is, and then not having the time to fix it. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah. And I think there's been studies that show across elderly, people that are post-retirement, there's been lots of psychological studies. What's the one thing you regret?
Well, the book, you ever read that book, The Regret of the Dying?
No, but I'm sure I'm putting the statistics. People always say they played it too safe. Always put it too safe. Right?
100%. You just nailed it. That was one, and not spending and working too much was another kind of thing. But that's a great book.
And by the way,
it's quick read too.
Do me a favor, text that to me. I'd love to check it out.
It's called I don't know that I have the name. I'm sure there's people listening like screaming at us like it's called this. But
I think it's important that we because it's easy to I'm doing the kids are not spending enough time or working too much.
It's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Top 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Right. And it's a quick it's a pretty quick read.
But it's easy to tell yourself you're working hard for the family. Like you ever had your kids say, "Daddy, do you have to go to work today?" And you're like,
all the time. Like, are you working?
Well, why are you doing that? Well, I'm doing it for you. Well, no, I don't really care. What's it for? Well, for money. Well, don't you like your stuff? No, I really want you. So it's an interesting.
Greg, here's one. Thing. I'm looking at one of the highlights from it. I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Was one, right? I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had let myself be happier. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Like,
I wish I stayed in touch with my friends.
These are all things that are in your last
here's
dance.
Literally, but written by people. Like, here's what the fuck to do, and we're like, nah, I'm good. I'll just work. I'll open up 7 more practices, and I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I wish I had let myself be happier. My wife is great. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And my wife is so good about that, like making sure I reach out to people. Like before we started this podcast, I'm like, Pete, let's make a plan. I want to go into the lake house. And I have no problem, especially if my friends like Pete have really
inviting
cool
yourself.
Things. Yeah, especially if they have cool things.
Yeah. Well,
probably there's a friend listening to this right now like, dude, just because I work at Best Buy, you haven't called me like 6 months. No, but my buddy P, he's a new friend. I've only had him for 5 years, but he's got a house in the lake and jet skis. But no, it's true. Express your feelings. Don't work so hard, and have the courage to live a life true to yourself, not the one that people expect. So good.
And even if you're not a basketball fan, I'm not all the way through that documentary. Watch that thing. I think there's lessons, and then maybe put it in the context of what listening to this podcast, and like put it, be entertained by the ESPN story, but also sit there and say, what does my last dance look like? Because it's not over yet. It's not over for any of us. But it could be. It could be tomorrow. Meaning, right? You heard what I'm saying? Like, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. We all could. And I think that's what this. I think, Craig, honestly, not to bring up one more pandemic thing, but it really did make a lot of us question our mortality.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you hear what Dave Portnoy said from Barstool Sports? He was
no,
so
but I think
good.
He's hilarious.
He's fucking great. He's
hilarious.
like, Fausti's a really nice guy. Looks like he could be like the grandfather and, Full House or whatever. I really like him. He told me to like flatten the curve. We flattened the curve. We stayed home, and now he just shows up like stay inside till it's secure. He's like, I've worked for 20 years for Barstool Sports. Like, I think I would rather die of COVID than have my business die.
Totally.
Like, let me do what I'm supposed to do. Like, it's interesting.
I would love to have him on the podcast. Honestly, I don't know how that would be
Barstool
fun.
Sports reached out to me. I didn't know who the hell they were. Like, this was to get in touch with Giancarlo Stanton. They emailed me. I didn't even know who they were. I swear I could search it in my inbox because they wanted to talk about the charity that I do.
All right, if anyone's got a connection to the Prez, yeah.
The Prez, yeah. Barstool Prez. He's awesome.
Craig, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You didn't get too woo woo. I'm proud of you. You stayed pretty tactical. Right?
I don't know about that, man. But as long, listen, if there's someone listening to this, just recognize that there's a tide, a complete tide is moving very fast, a current of negativity, and you just need to stand against it. And when you stand against something that's moving fast, you create turbulence.
Or just get out of that stream.
Get out of the stream or trudge forward, but don't be part of that dialogue. Create a vision that you can rally your team around, and don't be apologetic for it. Michael Jordan could have easily said, hey, if you don't want to win, no problem. Get off this team, go to the other team. But if you want to win, we're here to win. So don't be apologetic for your leadership style.
That is great advice as an ending. Really do believe. All right, buddy. Another one in the books. Oh,
one quick shout out too, Pete. I really want to give a shout out to these guys from Balus, the free app. You know, they make the facial scanner. I'm proud of these guys. I don't know who they are. Do you know who they are, Balus?
I mean, I know they make an app. And
right. I don't know anything about it, but so Balus 3D app. I'm not.
Well, yeah, they really helped provide value in dentistry for people to scan and free. And yeah, so kudos to companies like that who lean into the space, don't ask for any. They could have monetized that very. Yeah,
this cost me 99 cents.
No, I'm saying they could have monetized the facial scans and all that shit, but they didn't, and they opted to help. And that's awesome. Bunch
of rock stars. So
I'm using it.
I'm using it right now. You know, I put it over my level 3 mask. Oh, it's awesome, man. I got 2 different versions of it.
Dr. Curry was doing them like right out the get. I couldn't believe that this was like a service provided from your iPhone, which was just awesome.
Yeah.
That's when you look at humanity and you're like, yes, we are going to be okay.
We are going to be okay.
Right.
So little hacks like that. I'm psyched to see that. No money, or whatever, 99 cents for the premium.
Your phone is able to scan your face.
I know, isn't it badass?
For free, and export that XTL to be printed for 99 cents.
And by the way, now
that wasn't possible.
Right.
Years ago.
Now I don't need to wear a KN95, or there's research that points. You can do your own research on it, but there's studies on the Bell site that show this stuff. So it's just really cool. I love to see things functioning and working like that.
I so agree. Good job, Balus. Honestly, they're probably not listening, but it makes me feel good to say that.
Kudos to them.
What else
has been impressing me is, obviously right now, I'm just kind of top of mind because I just got recent communication, but I can't control a lot of the revenue coming into the practice. Obviously, I'd love to tell you that it's 120% of production, like some dentists are saying. Kudos to them. It's just not, and part of it's kind of self-inflicted because we staggered the teams. But it is good to see that like the credit card fees that I'm experiencing with NCC. I know
oh, dude, I have a story with that.
Tell me.
No, we'll keep going. But
just saying, like, I'm just loving the fact that I've got like $1,000 of savings a month, which is crazy. I've talked to some people that have done such a great job of negotiating their own credit card fees, and they're like, yeah, they couldn't save me any money. I'm like, dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
But for guys like me, holy smokes, I've saved.
I got the look back check.
What's that?
Remember that when they were looking at my stuff, they said, yeah, we're going to look back 3 months and get you. So I just got a check for $2,700 from like once they kind of jumped in. So not only am I getting the savings going forward, but they did a look back with the processor, and the processor paid the check of like $2,800. Awesome.
Yeah. Kudos to them.
So, and we have something set up for that, Greg. And I put it on the bumper of the podcast. I do think it's a value because you and I were getting just penalized by people. So we set up a landing page. Go to bulletproofdiscounts.com and we can connect. It's an easy thing to connect with Patrick. Yeah. And from MCC, and he's good. And so he's helping us out. We want to extend the listenership. And if you're, if you think you're getting a really good deal,
just check. Just check.
Just because we thought the same thing and we weren't. But you're right. There are a lot of people who, like, for instance, like Dwight,
Dwight's like they can save me like $40. I'm like,
and that's great. But isn't that like a badge you can put on? Like, okay, great, I'm awesome in this department.
Yeah.
Right?
So Dwight could save $440 a month. I was saving $2,300 a month. I'm like,
that's insane.
You don't want to win that one,
right? Do me a favor, would equal $25,000 or $10,000 in dentistry that you would have, like that your practice would have had to do in order to get a net profit. Anyway, we've hit that one before. Buddy, this is awesome. I'm fired up. I have to say, in full disclosure, that through the past couple of months, I haven't been fired up to do podcasts because we were tackling other things, and I just didn't feel like my energy felt off. I felt, again, scarce and reactive, and this feels good. And I'm hoping that we are encouraging others to kind of go boldly, even, because what options do you have? And it just feels good to be connecting with you again and talking about real shit and talking about Last Dance. And the next episode, though, I want to do, I feel like this was a Craig episode, right? Touchy feely, visionary, blah, blah, blah. I want to get into
the 5 steps how to make your P&L trim easy.
No, but I do.
The 17 light items every P&L must have.
The 192 steps to efficient marketing, right? Now,
exactly. The 46 step protocol is the perfect hygiene appointment.
The robotic dance.
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
I want to do, and this has helped me, and I did this exercise when I was in break, if you will, was a SWOT analysis. And if you don't know what a SWOT analysis, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I actually went through this, and I do this every year, but I wanted to do it again because I was feeling insecure. And it was nice to identify the strengths of the practice, the weaknesses of the practices, external and internal, opportunities that I saw in this time period, and threats. So I think it's a nice exercise to do post-COVID, because I think there's a lot more O and T, possibly. I think there's a lot of everything, and I think it's nice to unpack. So I want to kind of unpack how to do, or how I did it, on the next podcast. And then I'm having a sheet done that I think is, how we give away all the sheets at the summit for all of our
handbook,
in our field manual, and it's all these cool, that's honestly not to pat ourselves on the back, but that field manual is priceless.
Yeah.
But I want to give out, I want to create kind of a bulletproof SWOT spreadsheet where people can kind of print it out, and they can kind of go through it with us, or go through the podcast with us. So that's what I want to do next.
Oh, so like a podcast where you're actually talking about how to go through it.
Yeah. Or go
podcast.
through it and fill it out, or just listen to it and then download the thing and go through it. But I want to have a template for our peeps, right?
Yeah.
Created. And I think Kim's already done that. I think we've already had it created with Design Pickle.
Cool.
But I want to, because I kind of wrote it out, Craig, I did some of those field manual stuff. And so I think it's ready. So let's do that next podcast, if that's okay. Okay.
Great, let's do it.
I feel like these are this is a very conversational podcast, by the way.
Okay, it's always that way. It's just you and me. Who else are we going to talk to? I wonder what T-Bone would say about this.
No.
How could you, come on.
Funny. It's funny. All right, brother.
Yeah,
over and out. This was a great one.
All right. Okay, guys. Talk to you soon.
Peace.